My cousin Ashley's baby shower was held at Mom's house, complete with pink decorations, miniature games, and the kind of domestic celebration that made my family feel purposeful. At 28, I was the only childless woman under 40 in attendance, and my relatives never let me forget it. "Look at all these beautiful mothers and mothers-to-be," Aunt Linda announced, surveying the living room filled with women cooing over baby gifts. "And then we have our Dr. Maya, still single and childless at 28. She chose cats instead of kids." The assembled guests chuckled sympathetically while I sat in the corner, holding a cup of punch and watching Ashley open her 15th pack of onesies. My PhD in biochemistry and my research position at the university were consistently framed as consolation prizes rather than achievements. "It's such a shame," my cousin Jennifer said, bouncing her toddler on her knee. "Maya's so smart, but she's wasted all that intelligence on science instead of using it to raise children. What's the point of being educated if you're not passing it on to the next generation?" I'd heard variations of this conversation at every family gathering for the past 3 years. My research into cancer treatment protocols was viewed as a hobby that had gotten out of hand, preventing me from focusing on what really mattered, finding a husband and having babies. "She lives alone with 2 cats, Mom explained to Ashley's mother-in-law. "Works in a laboratory all day, comes home to empty rooms. No husband, no children, just cats and test tubes. It's not natural for a woman her age." The mother-in-law nodded knowingly. "My daughter went through a career phase too, but she came to her senses when she met Robert. Sometimes women need to be reminded that biology has a timeline." I took a sip of punch and stayed quiet. What they didn't know was that my hobby had led to developing a breakthrough treatment for aggressive breast cancer. The preliminary trials were showing remarkable results, and pharmaceutical companies were in bidding wars for licensing rights. But explaining that would sound like bragging to people who viewed my career as an elaborate way of avoiding adult responsibilities. "The saddest part is she could have been such a good mother," Ashley said from her throne of gift wrap and baby clothes. "She's patient, intelligent, nurturing with those cats. But she's so focused on her research that she's missing her biological window." Aunt Linda adjusted the baby shower crown on Ashley's head. "Exactly. Maya thinks saving strangers is more important than creating life. She's so busy trying to cure diseases that she's forgotten women have a higher purpose." The room murmured agreement. Ashley had married her college boyfriend at 25, gotten pregnant immediately, and was now living the suburban dream my family considered the only valid life path. I was the cautionary tale about what happened when women got too educated for their own good. "I worry about her future," Mom said with theatrical concern. "What happens when she gets old and realizes she wasted her childbearing years? When her research ends and she has no legacy? Ashley will have children and grandchildren, but Maya will have nothing but empty achievements." Jennifer's sister Sarah nodded from across the room. "That's what happens when women choose career over family. They think they're being independent, but they're really just being selfish. Society needs mothers, not more women playing scientist." I watched this analysis of my life choices while thinking about the phone call I'd received yesterday from the National Cancer Institute. They wanted to fast-track my treatment protocol for human trials after the remarkable results in lab studies. 3 different pharmaceutical companies had already made preliminary offers for licensing rights. "The problem with academic types," Aunt Linda declared, "is they live in their heads instead of their hearts. Maya can memorize all the textbooks she wants, but she'll never understand what it means to truly love until she has a child." Ashley held up a tiny pink dress. "This is what real accomplishment looks like, creating the next generation, building a family legacy. Not hiding in laboratories pretending to change the world." The guests applauded Ashley's wisdom while I thought about the breast cancer patients who'd volunteered for early compassionate use trials of my treatment. Women with stage 4 diagnoses who were now in complete remission. Mothers who would live to see their children grow up because of research I'd done while my family thought I was wasting time. "Turn on some background music," Mom suggested as the gift opening wound down. "Something soft and maternal to set the mood." She grabbed the remote and flipped to a music channel, but the TV was set to the Financial News Network. Bloomberg was running their afternoon market report. "Oh, boring business stuff," Ashley said, making a face. "Can we change it? I don't want to think about money when we're celebrating new life." But Aunt Linda was interested in the breaking news banner scrolling across the bottom. "My 401k depends on pharmaceutical stocks. Let's see if anything important happened today. The anchor was finishing a story about quarterly earnings when the screen switched to a special report. We're interrupting regular programming for breaking news from the pharmaceutical sector. A breakthrough cancer treatment has just received fast-track approval for human trials, with licensing deals that could revolutionize oncology. The room continued chatting about baby clothes while the TV played in the background. The treatment, developed by Dr. Maya Patel at the university's Cancer Research Institute, has shown unprecedented results in treating aggressive breast cancer, the reporter continued. Early licensing agreements with 3 major pharmaceutical companies are valued at over $2 billion in potential royalties. The conversation stopped mid-sentence. Every head turned toward the television as my name echoed through Mom's living room. Dr. Patel's research represents a paradigm shift in cancer treatment, the reporter explained. The protocol she developed has achieved complete remission in 93% of trial participants with stage 4 breast cancer, a survival rate previously considered impossible. Ashley was staring at the TV screen, a baby bib forgotten in her hands. Did they say Maya Patel? Our Maya. The camera switched to footage of me in my lab coat, clearly recorded during a recent interview. This treatment gives hope to women who were told they had months to live. My voice filled the room. Every day we delay means mothers who won't see their children's next birthday. That's what drives this research. Aunt Linda had gone completely pale. Maya, is that really you on the news? The financial implications are staggering, the Bloomberg anchor continued. Dr. Patel's licensing agreements could generate over $2 billion in royalties over the next decade, making her one of the wealthiest medical researchers in history. Jennifer dropped her toddler's sippy cup. $2 billion? Maya, how is that possible? Pharmaceutical patents, I said quietly. When you develop a treatment that saves lives, companies pay licensing fees to manufacture and distribute it. Mom was frantically reaching for her phone. Honey, why didn't you tell us this was happening? I tried to, I said. Every time I mention my research, you changed the subject to talk about when I was getting married. The news continued with expert analysis about the breakthrough's impact on cancer treatment worldwide. They mentioned the 3 medical journals that had published my research and the invitation I'd received to present findings at the International Oncology Conference. But you work with cats, Sarah said weakly. You said you were doing research with cats. Animal trials, I corrected. Before human testing, we test treatments on laboratory mice. That's how medical research works. Ashley was scrolling through her phone with trembling hands. There are articles about you everywhere. Nature, Science, New England Journal of Medicine. They're calling you the researcher who cracked the breast cancer code. The room fell into stunned silence as the magnitude of what they'd just learned sank in. The same women who'd spent the afternoon pitying my childless state were now staring at a television screen explaining how my work would save thousands of mothers' lives. Why didn't you tell us you were working on something so important? Aunt Linda asked, her voice barely a whisper. You never asked, I said. You assumed that because I didn't have children my work couldn't be meaningful. Every time I tried to explain my research, you told me I was avoiding real responsibilities. Dad appeared from the garage where he'd been hiding from the baby shower. Maya, is this real? Are you really worth $2 billion? The licensing deals are real, I confirmed. But the money was never the point. The point was saving lives. Jennifer was still staring at the TV where expert oncologists were discussing the revolutionary nature of my treatment protocol. You're going to save thousands of women. Thousands of mothers. That was always the goal, I said. While you were telling me I didn't understand love because I don't have children, I was working to make sure other people's children don't lose their mothers to cancer. The baby shower decorations suddenly seemed absurd in contrast to the breaking news coverage of my medical breakthrough. Pink balloons and tiny booties while the TV discussed how my research would reshape cancer treatment globally. We had no idea, Mom said, tears starting in her eyes. We thought you were just avoiding growing up. I was growing up, I said, standing from my chair. I was becoming someone who could contribute something meaningful to the world. You just couldn't see past your definition of what women should accomplish. Ashley held up her phone. It says here you've been working 18-hour days for 3 years. Maya, we thought you were just antisocial. I was trying to save lives, I said. Including the lives of women exactly like you, young mothers who deserve to see their children grow up. I picked up my purse and headed for the door. The same women who'd been explaining my failures an hour earlier now watched in stunned silence as I walked past the pile of baby gifts and pink decorations. "Where are you going?" Mom called after me. "Back to my empty, meaningless life," I said. "I have cancer patients depending on me to finalize the human trial protocols." As I drove away from the baby shower, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. Tomorrow the first human trials would begin. Next month, mothers with terminal diagnoses would start receiving treatment that could save their lives. And eventually, thousands of families would stay together because of work I'd done while my relatives thought I was avoiding real responsibilities. 6 months later, the first group of human trial participants achieved complete remission. The treatment I'd developed became the new standard of care for aggressive breast cancer, saving an estimated 10,000 lives in its first year alone. At the medical conference where I presented the final results, a reporter asked if I ever regretted choosing career over family. "I didn't choose career over family," I told her, looking out at an audience of oncologists and cancer researchers. "I chose to protect everyone's family. Sometimes the most maternal thing you can do is ensure other people's children don't lose their mothers. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give the world is the one other people can't understand until it saves their lives."